Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to speak about something very important. Protecting your self-worth, your dignity, and your peace of mind in relationships. Words are powerful. They can either heal or harm, uplift or destroy. When a man chooses words that degrade, manipulate, or belittle you, it is not just a reflection of his character, but also a warning sign for your future. Many times, people ignore the early red flags in relationships because they hope things will get better. But in reality, the very words someone uses reveal their mindset, their respect level, and their intentions. If a man repeatedly says certain toxic phrases, it is not just careless speech. It is a deep insight into how he views you, your worth, and the relationship. And if you hear these phrases, you must have the strength to walk away immediately. Because staying will only cost you your peace, your happiness, and maybe even your future. When a man looks you in the eyes and says, "You're overreacting," what he's really doing is sending a message that your emotions are invalid, unnecessary, or even ridiculous. And this is one of the most dangerous and subtle forms of emotional manipulation. Why? Because it doesn't always appear as abuse at first. It sounds casual. It sounds almost innocent. Make no mistake, those words are a dagger aimed straight at your self-worth. Think about it. In a healthy relationship, both partners should feel safe enough to express themselves without fear of being belittled. If something bothers you, whether it's big or small, running through the park, your partner's job is not to tell you that your emotions are wrong. It is to understand them, to listen, and to empathize. Even if he doesn't fully agree, he should respect your perspective. That's what emotional maturity looks like. When a man constantly tells you that you're too sensitive, crazy, or making a big deal out of nothing, he is gaslighting you. Gaslighting is a psychological tactic where someone tries to make you doubt your own perception of reality. It makes you second guess your truth. Suddenly, you start wondering, am I really overreacting? Maybe I am too emotional. Maybe I shouldn't say anything next time. And with each repetition of this cycle, you lose a little more of your voice. This is where the real damage begins. Because over time, you start silencing yourself. You stop speaking up. You hold in your hurt. You pretend you're okay just to avoid being told you're dramatic. And that silence, that's the slow death of your spirit. A man who truly loves you would never want you to shrink yourself to keep the peace. He would want you to shine, to express, to be free in his presence. Let me tell you something very important. Your feelings are not an inconvenience. Your emotions are not a burden. If something hurts you, it matters. If something bothers you, it deserves a conversation. A man who says, "You're overreacting," is not just disagreeing with you. He is dismissing your humanity. He is telling you in his own way that your voice doesn't carry weight in his world. And here's the truth. When a man continuously dismisses your feelings, it is not just about that one argument, that one conversation, or that one situation. It is about the foundation of the relationship. Because if he cannot respect your feelings in small matters, how will he stand with you in big challenges? If he cannot validate your tears, how will he handle your dreams, your fears, or your struggles? Walking away in this situation is not about being dramatic. It's about protecting your peace. It's about saying, "I deserve a love where my heart is heard, not silenced." And if a man cannot give you that basic level of emotional respect, then he is not worthy of the love you have to give. Remember, this love that diminishes your voice is not love. It's control dressed as concern. And you deserve so much more than that. When a man looks at you and says, "No one else will love you like I do," it may sound romantic on the surface. Underneath that statement lies a dark form of emotional manipulation. At first, it might even make you feel special. You may think, "Whoa, He must really value me. He must really believe I'm unique. But listen closely, it is not a promise of love. It is a prison of fear. This statement is not about love. It's about control. What he is really saying is, you are not worthy of love beyond me. You will never find anyone else who can care for you, tolerate you, or stay with you. So you better not leave. Do you see the trap? Instead of empowering you to feel valued, it corners you into dependency. Instead of lifting your spirit, chains you to the idea that he is your only option. And let me tell you, love is not about limiting options. Love is not about convincing you that you're unlovable outside of one person. Real love is abundant. It celebrates your worth. It gives you wings, cages. The park, a man who truly loves you would never tell you that no one else would want you. He would remind you every single day that you are worthy of love in every form. This phrase, no one else will love you like I do, is often used by men who fear losing control, not men who fear losing you. It is insecurity speaking, dressed up as devotion. And here's the dangerous part. If you start to believe it, you begin to settle. You begin to think, maybe he's right. Maybe I should stay, even if I'm unhappy, because at least someone loves me. That is the slow erosion of self-esteem. That is how people remain stuck in unhealthy, even toxic relationships for years. Imagine this love should feel like freedom. It should feel like sunshine, like breath, like coming home after a long day. But when a man uses fear to anchor you, love starts to feel like a chain around your neck. And once you accept that chain, it becomes harder and harder to break free. That is why this phrase is so dangerous. It is not just words. It is psychological conditioning. Let's be very clear, you are not unlovable. You are not impossible to cherish. You are not too broken, too difficult, or too flawed to be loved again. That is a lie he tells you so you will never imagine life without him. But the truth is that love is everywhere. And the right love, the kind of love you deserve, will not need to convince you that you have no other choice. It will make you feel safe, valued, and free. So when a man says, no one else will love you like I do, don't hear it as a blessing. Hear it as a warning. He is showing you his mindset. He is telling you that his version of love is based on fear, control, and insecurity. That is not the kind of love that builds families, futures, peace. That is the kind of love that slowly drains your spirit until you forget who you are. And here is the greatest truth. Someone else will love you like he never could. Someone else will see you and not just what you give. Someone else will love you with respect, tenderness, and freedom. And even if, for a season, no one else is there, the most important person who can love you better than him is you. So if you hear this phrase, don't be flattered. Be alert. Because love that comes with fear is not love at all. Walk away, running through the park with your dignity intact, and remember, the person who deserves you will never convince you that you're unworthy without them. When a man says to you, you're lucky to have me, it might seem like a light-hearted statement at first. Some people even joke with this phrase. Listen carefully. When these words are spoken repeatedly and seriously, they reveal something dangerous about his character. Uncover a heart filled with arrogance, entitlement, and superiority. And let me tell you, arrogance has no place in love. It's not about who is lucky to have who. Love is about partnership. It's about building something together, where both people bring value, energy, and effort into the relationship. But when a man positions himself as the prize, as the reason you should be grateful every single day, he is putting himself above you. He is saying, in not so subtle terms, you need me more than I need you. Let's pause here. Doesn't that sound like an uneven balance of power? Because it is. Relationships cannot survive when one person constantly believes they are the superior one, while the other is made to feel as if they are barely worthy of being loved. That is not love. It is domination dressed up as romance. Here's the hidden danger when someone keeps telling you, "You're lucky to have me." Over time, you may start believing it. Slowly begins to chip away at your confidence. You may start to feel like you should tolerate mistreatment because, after all, you're lucky. He even chose you. You may accept less than you deserve because you've been conditioned to think he is the best you can ever get. Here is the truth. Love should never make you feel small. Love should never make you feel like you are the one constantly catching up, constantly proving, constantly earning your place. If anything, a healthy love will make both partners feel grateful for each other. Gratitude should go both ways. He should feel lucky to have you just as much as you feel blessed to have him. That is balance. That is respect. A man who says, "You're lucky to have me," often carries a fragile ego. He is insecure deep down, but instead of facing those insecurities, he inflates his sense of importance to keep control. He wants you to think he's irreplaceable. But let me remind you, no one is irreplaceable when they fail to treat you with respect. You do not need to settle for a man who diminishes your worth just to boost his own. Think about this. True kings never need to remind people of their crown. True value speaks for itself. A man who is truly worthy will never have to tell you that you're lucky, because his actions, his kindness, his consistency, and his love will make you feel it without him ever needing to say a word. So when a man constantly tells you, "You're lucky to have me," what he's really saying is, "I see myself above you. I expect you to worship me. I don't see you as an equal partner." That's not just pride. That's a red flag waving right in your face. And here is the bottom line. You are not just lucky to have love. You are worthy of it. Love is not a lottery ticket you happen to win. Love is a birthright for every human being. You bring value, beauty, and uniqueness to any relationship you enter. The right man will see that, honor that, and celebrate that, not minimize it. So if you ever hear the phrase, "You're lucky to have me," take it as a sign, not a compliment. Take it as proof that his ego is louder than his respect. And in relationships, ego kills love faster than anything else. Walk away, because you don't need a man who sees himself as a gift. You need a man who sees you as his equal, his partner, and his blessing. One of the most manipulative statements a man can make in a relationship is this: "If you loved me, you would." On the surface, it sounds like he is simply expressing a need, a desire, or a wish. But let's peel back the layers. What he's really saying is, "Your love for me is not valid unless you prove it in the way I demand. Your love is not enough unless it comes at the cost of your boundaries, your comfort, or your values." This is conditional love, and conditional love is not love at all. It is control. It is a weapon disguised as affection. Think about what happens in that moment. Suddenly, your feelings are put on trial. You're forced into a corner where you feel like you must choose between keeping your self-respect and proving your love. And in many cases, women give in. They compromise, they sacrifice, break their own boundaries because they are afraid of being seen as unloving. But let me ask you, what kind of love demands that you betray yourself to keep it alive? That is not love. That is emotional blackmail. Here's the danger: this phrase doesn't usually show up once. It repeats. And with each repetition, demands become greater. If you loved me, you would cancel your plans for me. If you loved me, you would give me all your passwords. If you loved me, you would tolerate my temper. If you loved me, you would sleep with me. Do you see how the pattern grows? It starts small, soon it becomes a cycle where you're constantly forced to prove your love by giving more, doing more, sacrificing more. Meanwhile, his love for you is never questioned, never tested, never proven. True love does not require a courtroom. True love does not come with ultimatums. Real love respects boundaries. Real love understands that you can say no and still love deeply. Real love is secure enough to exist without constant proof. Let me make something very clear. If a man truly loves you, he will never put you in a position where you must betray yourself to keep him. He will never make your dignity, your body, or your peace a bargaining chip for his affection. Instead, honor your yes and respect your no. And here's something most people don't realize. Though the conditional love is one of the earliest warning signs of abuse. Because once you start proving your love by ignoring your own needs, you begin to lose your sense of self. You stop asking, am I happy? And instead you ask, am I doing enough for him? That's when the relationship stops being a partnership and becomes a performance, where you're the actor and he's the audience, always demanding more. But love is not a performance. Love is not a transaction. Love is not a test you must keep passing to avoid rejection. So if you ever hear the words, if you loved me you would, pause and look deeper. What is he really asking? Is it respect? Or is it control? Is it partnership? Or is it power? Because the right man, the man who deserves you, will never ask you to compromise your values in the name of love. He will never tie his affection to a condition. Love, real love, is unconditional. It says, I love you even when you disagree. I love you even when you say no. I love you because of who you are, not because of what you can do for me. That's the kind of love worth keeping. So that the next time someone tries to manipulate you with, if you loved me, you would, don't fall into the trap. Recognize it for what it is, the demand for control. And remember, love that forces you to surrender your soul is not love at all. It's a cage, and cages are meant to be broken, not lived in. Walk away, because the love you deserve will never need you to prove it. Few words can pierce the human heart more deeply than this. You can't do anything, right? When a man says this to you, he is not just commenting on one mistake. He is not just frustrated about one situation. He is attacking your very identity, your abilities, your worth. And when this phrase is repeated over and over, it becomes one of the most destructive forms of emotional abuse, chronic criticism. Let's pause here. Every relationship will have disagreements. Every couple will sometimes point out flaws, mistakes, or areas of growth. That's normal. But there's a difference between healthy feedback and destructive criticism. Healthy feedback comes from a place of love. It focuses on a specific issue and aims to build you up. For example, I felt hurt when you didn't call me back. Let's work on communication. That's constructive. It's rooted in care. Constant criticism is very different. It doesn't address one behavior. It attacks your personhood. It says, you're not enough, running through incapable. You're a failure. When a man repeatedly tells you that you can't do anything right, he's not just pointing out a mistake. He's conditioning you to believe you are a mistake. This kind of verbal abuse is insidious. At first, you may brush it off, thinking he was just angry. But over time, those words sink into your subconscious. You begin to doubt yourself in everything you do. You hesitate before making decisions. You second guess your worth. And slowly, your confidence begins to crumble. That's the dangerous effect of constant criticism. It doesn't just hurt in the moment, reshapes the way you see yourself. You begin to wear the labels he puts on you. You begin to believe the lies. And once you believe them, dreaming as big, you stop standing tall and you start living small because you've been told that no matter what you do won't be good enough. But here's the truth: no human being is perfect. We all make mistakes. We all forget things, fall short, and sometimes disappoint. But love is not about magnifying flaws. Love is about patience, forgiveness, and encouragement. A man who truly loves you will never define you by your failures. He will see your potential even when you stumble. He will remind you of your strengths when you forget them. He will build you up, not tear you down. When a man constantly criticizes you, reveals something important, not about you, but about him. People who criticize excessively often do so because of their own insecurities. By putting you down, he feels higher. By making you feel small, he feels big. But that is not a partner. That is an oppressor in disguise. And the longer you stay, the smaller you will become under the weight of his words. Imagine a flower trying to bloom in a storm. That's what it's like to love under constant criticism. You can't open fully. You can't grow. You can't shine because the environment is hostile, not nurturing. So, what should you do when a man repeatedly tells you you can't do anything right? You walk away. Not because you're weak, running through the park. Not because you can't handle criticism, but because you deserve a love that sees your beauty, your effort, your growth. You deserve a partner who says, I know you're not perfect. You're perfect for me. The right man will never make you feel like a failure. He will never turn your flaws into weapons. Instead, he will celebrate your strengths, stand with you in your weaknesses, and help you rise when you fall. That is the difference between real love and emotional abuse. So remember this, your worth is not measured by a man's criticism. Your value does not shrink because someone else refuses to see it. If you are with someone who constantly tells you that you can't do anything, right? The most powerful thing you can do is prove him wrong by walking away, by standing tall, and by living a life that shows you are capable of everything he said you weren't. One of the most dangerous phrases a man can say in a relationship is, "That's just how I am, take it or leave it." At first glance, may sound like honesty. It may sound like he's simply being straightforward about who he is. But in truth, statement is not about honesty, it's about stubbornness. It's about closing the door to growth, to change, and to accountability. And when someone refuses to grow, they're telling you in plain words, I will not do the work this relationship requires. You must adjust, sacrifice, and bend, but I will not. Let's be real, no one is perfect. We all have flaws, weaknesses, and areas where we need improvement. That's what makes us human. But what separates a mature partner from an immature one is the willingness to acknowledge those flaws and work on them. Growth is the foundation of love, because love is not static, it's alive, it evolves, it demands effort. So when a man tells you, that's just how I am, what he's really saying is, I'm not willing to try. I don't care enough to change. You can either tolerate my bad habits, my selfishness, my temper, my immaturity, or you can leave. And if you choose to stay, you will soon realize that every conflict ends the same way, with you being the only one expected to compromise. Here's the tragedy. Too many people accept this phrase as truth. They convince themselves that it's noble to endure. They think, maybe I can change him. Maybe if I'm patient enough, he'll soften. Maybe love will be enough to inspire him. But love alone cannot transform someone who refuses to be transformed. Effort must come from within. Cannot drag someone into maturity. You cannot force growth on someone who has locked the doors to change. Think of it like this. If you plant a seed in the soil, it has the potential to grow into a tree. But if that seed refuses the water, refuses the sunlight, refuses the care, it will remain a seed forever. And you can sit there for years, watering and waiting, but nothing will change. That's what it's like being with someone who says, that's just how I am. You will pour your love into them. It will never blossom into the relationship you deserve. Now, Let's be clear, growth does not mean perfection. Growth does not mean someone must erase their entire personality. It means accountability. It means being willing to say, yes, I have flaws, but I'm willing to work on them because I care about you, because I care about us. That's what a healthy relationship looks like. Two people who are both willing to learn, adapt, and improve for the sake of their bond. But a man who hides behind, take it or leave it, is not being strong. He's being lazy, running through the park. He's avoiding responsibility. He's protecting his ego at the cost of the relationship. And here's the painful truth. If he refuses to grow for you, he never truly valued what you bring into his life. Because when you love someone, you want to become better, not just for yourself but for them. So, when you hear, "That's just how I am, take it or leave it," don't think of it as honesty. Think of it as a warning. He is telling you the relationship will always be one-sided. He is telling you he will not evolve, no matter how much it hurts you. He is telling you that the burden of adjustment will always fall on your shoulders. And in that moment, you must choose yourself. Because the truth is, you don't need to take it. You don't have to accept stagnant love, immaturity, or disrespect. You can leave, and leaving is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is the recognition that you deserve someone who is willing to grow alongside you, not someone who demands you shrink yourself to fit their stubbornness. So remember this, love that refuses to grow is love that eventually dies. And the man who tells you, "This is just who I am," is not giving you a reason to stay. He is giving you a reason to walk away. Few phrases reveal insecurity more clearly than this one. "You'll never find better than me." On the surface, sounds like a statement of confidence, but look deeper. It's not confidence, it's fear disguised as arrogance. It is not love speaking, it is control whispering. When a man says this, what he's really doing is planting a seed of doubt in your mind. He's trying to convince you that your future without him will be bleak, empty, and lonely. And that, my friends, is nothing more than a fear tactic. Let's break it down. When someone says, "You'll never find better," what they're really telling you is, "I don't believe I'm enough, so I have to make you think no one else will want you. I'm afraid you'll realize your worth, Park, so I'll try to shrink your vision of yourself. I know I don't treat you the way you deserve. I'll convince you that this is the best you can get." This is not confidence, it's insecurity at its loudest. And if you believe it, you may end up trapped in a cycle of settling for less than you deserve. Think about the power of words. Over time, if a man keeps saying this to you, you might start to wonder, what if he's right? What if I won't find someone better? What if I'm too difficult, too broken, too old, too much, or not enough? That's the danger. Fear starts whispering louder than truth. And when fear becomes your guide, running through the park, you begin to stay in situations that break you because you think you don't deserve more. But let me tell you something that should shake you awake. Running through the park, you will always find better than someone who belittles you. Better doesn't always mean richer, taller, stronger, or more handsome. Better means kinder. Better means respectful. Better means someone who listens, who values, who lifts you up instead of tearing you down. Better means someone who doesn't have to remind you of your worth because their actions show you every day how deeply they value you. And here's another truth, even if you don't find someone else right away, even if you walk away and stand alone for a season, being alone is better than being with someone who convinces you you're unworthy. Because solitude with peace is far more powerful than togetherness with chains. When a man says, "You'll never find better than me," he's revealing that he is not willing to improve. He's telling you he has reached his ceiling. Instead of striving to be the best man he can be, he settles by trying to convince you that the bare minimum he gives you is the best you'll ever have. That is not a king. That is not a partner. That is a man who wants you to settle so he doesn't have to rise. And you must never, never settle for less than you deserve. Real love doesn't scare you into staying. Real love doesn't make you feel trapped. Real love doesn't force you into silence by making you think you won't be wanted anywhere else. Real love says, even if you walked away, I hope you find happiness because I love you that much. That's love. Anything else is manipulation. So, the next time a man looks you in the eyes and says, you'll never find better than me, smile, because he has just told you the truth, not about you, but about himself. He has revealed his fear, his insecurity, and his refusal to grow. And in that moment, you should remember who you are. You are valuable. You are worthy. You are capable of attracting love that is healthier, deeper, and more abundant than anything he ever gave you. And the most powerful response you can give is not to argue, not to fight, not to beg him to see your worth, but to walk away. Walk away with dignity. Walk away with your head high. Walk away knowing that better is not just possible, it is inevitable. Because better begins the moment you choose yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, words are not just sounds, they are seeds. They either plant life or they plant destruction. And when a man consistently speaks words that dismiss you, belittle you, or trap you in fear, he is revealing the truth of his character. You cannot ignore those red flags. You cannot excuse them as just the way he is. Because every word is a window into his mindset. And that mindset will shape your future if you stay. Truth is this: love is not supposed to feel like a battlefield where you constantly defend your worth. Love is not supposed to demand that you silence your voice, sacrifice your values, or accept disrespect in the name of understanding. Real love does not chain you, it frees you. It does not make you smaller, it makes you bigger. It does not strip you of dignity, it crowns you with honor. So if a man says these toxic phrases to you, don't wait for change. Don't hold on to the hope that someday his words will turn into kindness. Believe him the first time he shows you who he is. Because walking away is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is courage. It is self-respect in action. And here's the most important truth. You don't just deserve love. You deserve the right kind of love. A love that respects your voice. A love that honors your boundaries. A love that sees you as a partner, not a possession. A love that builds, not destroys. So my message to you is simple. If you ever hear these words, don't hesitate. Don't second guess yourself. Don't stay in the storm hoping for sunshine. Walk away. Because every step you take away from the wrong person brings you closer to the right one. And remember this: protecting your heart is not selfish. It is sacred. The love you give is powerful, and the one who deserves it will never make you doubt your worth. Walk away when respect is absent, and walk boldly toward the love you truly deserve.